today sitting with a celebrity, Sara-Chana Silverstein. She is the mother of 7. She's a master herbalist. She's a homeopath. She's an IBCLC, or lactation consultant, the highest grade of lactation consultants. She's also a doula. She's a TV and radio health expert. And she is the author of the Moodtopia book, which I am finding fascinating. Sara,
thank you, Lauren.
Such a pleasure to meet you and to get to interview you. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure.
So I started reading your book, and I have to say that I was in tears when I read the story about your daughter. So would you like to tell our listeners and viewers the story of how she landed up in hospital?
I had have a very healthy 26-year-old daughter who had been hit by a car, and we assumed that she was okay because she came out walking. She had gone to the hospital. And a couple months later, when she was substitute teaching for a friend of hers, she lost all sensation and became paralyzed from the shoulders down. A completely healthy young woman who went to the gym, ate healthy foods, and it was very, very overwhelming. At first, they thought it was from a virus or a bacteria. They told us that her heart, lungs, everything was going to stop working. And we didn't believe them, although all prognosis looked like it would go in that direction. And it turned out that we helped her heal. She had a lot of perseverance, was unwilling to give up. We did a lot of alternative care. I mean, I want to say, Lauren, the first 3 weeks, I was very determined to let the hospital cure my daughter. I mean, although I'm an alternative practitioner, I specialize in women's health and pediatrics. I mean, I had never dealt with someone that had become a quadriplegic, but after 3 weeks, they were ready to put her in a nursing home for the rest of her life. So I snuck in, Lauren, to the hospital, an acupuncturist, massage therapist, craniosacral therapist, and behind their backs, I mean, that's a whole other story. And slowly but surely, she started to regain some sensation and started working. It's 4 years later of very hard work, but she is walking, and she still has a little bit ways to go, but she's doing phenomenally. So wow. I guess the lesson for me is that bad things do happen to good people. And the question is, how do we pull through? And Lauren, what was one of the most amazing things was I had written the proposal for my book, Moodtopia. I had not yet sold my book, but I had spent a lot of time and money on writing my proposal. And when I was in the hospital, slowly but surely, unconsciously, I started using every single thing I had written in my book. And I saw that it really helped. So for instance, Lauren, I talk about the importance of smiling, even fake smiling. Clinical studies show that even if you're in a horrible, horrible mood and you put your face in like a smile, yes, you know, my joke is, yes, I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but like if you're walking through New York smiling, people are like, oh my God, she's gonna mug us, what's wrong with her? But if you're in California and you walk through smiling, they go, oh, Sara-Chana had a facelift like me. So smiling in different countries mean different things, but at least in the hospital, I wrote a big poster on my daughter's door that if you're not in a good mood, don't enter. Because I wanted people to come in and it be all about my daughter and her healing and not their own stuff. And nurses and doctors told me, Lauren, that they were intimidated to come into the room because they were like, oh my gosh, I'm not in a good mood. And my answer was, no, we don't need your care. And just to go on, I want to let you know that because I do herbs and aromatherapy, I started spraying in a 99-cent bottle. I bought a 99-cent spray bottle. I would put a couple drops of essential oils in it and spray the room, not to heal her, but to try to shift the environment.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, the nurses were like, "Oh, what's that smell today?" And I'd be like, "Well, lang lang." And they'd go, "Whoa." The next day I'd have some sandalwood and they'd go, "Whoa, what's that?"
Stunning.
And what I found was the nurses wanted to be around us because hospitals smell like death and dying. And
Of course.
so the essential oils may not heal a person, but what they can do is shift the environment. So people were really excited to be in our room, smell our room, and it was an inviting place rather than an intimidating place. So that's what I try to share with Moodtopia. It's these little teeny things that you can tweak that can help all of us feel a little bit better under stress.
Wow, that's amazing. And your book looks really amazing. I have to admit, I didn't manage to read the whole thing before our interview. This has all happened really quickly. You are an incredible achiever. I just still can't get over how you manage it all. So that is my next question. How did you manage raising 7 children, studying, to become a master herbalist, a homeopath? Are you an aromatherapist as well?
Because you know a lot therapist as well. I know a lot about it. It's part of our training because we use herbs and plants and flowers. Yes.
Right.
So I have to admit that I got help. I did not do it alone. My husband was hands-on and there to help me, and I did, even if I had to take loans or borrow money, I did make sure that there was a second caregiver with me. So if I was taking care of one kid, she could give the other one a bath. If I was doing homework with one kid, she could help make sure the toddler had food. So that was really a top priority, more than buying a home. That's where I spent my money because I felt that if I could stay a little sane, scream a little bit less, and I knew, then it would be better for my kids. And I knew I couldn't do it alone. There were times when I was becoming an international board certified lactation consultant, and I would be paying for 2 babysitters at the same time.
Wow.
One in my home and one with me because I had a breastfeeding baby all the time. So that was a rough step to take to lay out that money. But I didn't want to leave my little babies. I wanted my toddlers and a little bit older to have the best care. And that was really my priority. And it was funny because I'd be at these medical conferences with my babysitter. And, when it was lunchtime or a coffee break, the babysitter and my baby and I, we'd have a blast. Like, it was like fun. I was looking forward to our breaks. We would explore the hotels that the conferences were at. So it really became pleasurable. And it was very interesting because when I started doing TV shows, some of the sets I'd have to be on at 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, but I'd always try to bring one of my kids with me. They were older, so we'd wake up in the morning and bring our little smoothie or protein shake with us, and we'd get to the studio. And so I really tried to include them in the path that I was taking. Even I remember I was at one class and I brought my little child, with a little blanket and Duplos, and they, the other women were like, "How is your child so well behaved?" I said, "Well, because it's his turn to come with me, and he knows if he's a monster, he's not coming back, and there's other kids waiting in line to come." So my kids learned to be very well disciplined, so they could do fun things with mommy.
Amazing. And how old are your children now? So you were doing this studying when they were littlies?
They were little, because it takes a long time. I did a 5-year homeopathic program. I did a 3-year herbal program. I did 2,500 clinical hours in breastfeeding, plus all the graduate work. So it was a lot of work. So now my youngest is 16 and my oldest is 31. So I still have a bunch of kids home. I mean, I'm not done yet. They're
amazing. And on one of the interviews I was listening to while I was preparing, I noticed that you said that you had created your home, your office right next door to your house, so that you could still be a kind of stay-at-home mom, work-from-home mom, and by just going next door to the office. Is that still how your office is set up?
It's still, and I have a lot of really fancy people from Midtown Manhattan that come and say, "Sara-Chana, we'll give you a real office. And I'm like, you've been coming to me for years. This is a real office. So I was waiting with bated breath for another apartment in my building to open up. And it turned out that the studio next door became available. It was a little pricier than I wanted, but it had a kitchen with a separate door. So I took everything out of the kitchen, set up a little office so I could be exactly a stay-at-home working mom. So if one of my children missed a day of school, they weren't feeling well, I could still run out there and make them a warm tea. They could be right outside my office door, sitting, reading a book or coloring. I always had a woman here with me. That is something I feel moms need. They need in order, because you don't want the kids to feel alone. And so, I mean, you'd have to ask my kids, either they're going to say, my mom was around way too much, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to say, my mom wasn't around. They're going to be like, couldn't she have gone out to work like a normal person? But no, it was great. And then as my boys got older, you know, they came home for lunch. So I would block out, because I'm my own boss. So I would block out that little time, you know, from 12:30 to 1:30, and I'd be out there sitting there, you know, with them eating lunch. You know, maybe they wanted to be alone, but they had their mom. But that way I was available while working. And I think that's the struggle women have. How do you be there for your kids and go down the path you want as an individual?
And I think it takes a village, doesn't it? You do need help. I mean, I've found I only have one little one. Well, we have a 15-year-old daughter as well, but she's not with us all the time. And but with the little one, I have to have people who support me, because, you know, there's times when I'm working, like this afternoon, when I would normally be with him, and so he's got to be at a play date, and we have, you know, great friendships that really help to organize that we all get our work done.
Right. My husband was on the way to the gym, and I was like, I'm doing an interview. He's like, no. I said, if anybody comes to the door. So yes, it does. Yes. And, you know, I think understanding your weaknesses, understanding your strengths, and not being afraid to ask or delegate is 911. You know, sometimes my husband will say to me, like, it's really funny how you have this ability to tell everybody what to do. And I'm like, no. I'm telling everybody how to make this whole thing work. So delegating is really important. It's really important. And I remember, like, I try to be clean and organized, and we can be messy. Messy is not a problem. But, you know, everything has to have its place. So when you want to clean, everything can go back. And I remember my son, when he went away to camp to be a counselor, he called me up mortified, and he was like, Ma, how can someone take a shower and leave their towel on the ground? He said, how can someone make some toast and leave their butter knife out? So as they grow up, I'm quite impressed at their ability to keep order in a world of chaos. And I have a girl, 5 boys and a girl, and all 5 of my boys can cook. And they cook well. Like, the kitchen was not off limits for them. So they being in a large family, having a mother that worked, maybe a tiny bit of a controlling type of personality mom. I'm guilty, but they learned to run an apartment and a house, and now they're all, you know, venturing out into the business world. So I think those skills were still taught to them even while I was working.
Amazing! Wow, I just think of all the things that you've accomplished. I mean, I really wanted, when I had my little boy at 40, I wanted to become an IBCLC. I wanted to become a doula. I felt being a mom was just so amazing. But you did all these things. You didn't just want to be there. You actually went ahead and did them, and you had 7 children. So I feel like you're putting me to shame here.
No. Lauren, no. I mean, you know, thank you. I appreciate it. But, you know, like, everybody has what they need to do in this world. Like, you've got this amazing website and this amazing podcast. You know what I'm saying, Lauren? So, you know, believe me, it's funny, because where I'm at, I look at what I didn't accomplish also, Lauren. I think it's a human nature, you know,
Yeah.
and so, but if you really dig deeply, and I think are very aware of what you're good at and what you're not, you'll be able to get to where you feel you can. So my favorite statement quote is, what's easy for you is a gift to the world. What's difficult for you is a gift to yourself.
Oh,
so
stunning.
Right. So like, I'm not a morning person. It's very hard for me. I like to stay until 2 o'clock in the morning. No, don't worry about it. I like to stay until 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, writing and reading and researching. So for me, it was like, how do I get up and get the kids to school? And they weren't always on time, Lauren, but like to be a keynote speaker was like easy for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So I had to, right. So I had to say, like, if I was created to be a little loud and obnoxious and funny and able to, you know, entertain when I speak, then that's what I can give to the world. So I think finding that balance, and, you know, look, if you come from a business and your mother or father had a business and they want you to take it over, it may be great financially, but if you can't hack it, you may have to go into another direction. That doesn't mean you can't hire someone to do your job at your parents' business so you can keep it up. But really knowing your strengths, I think, are something I work with my clients all the time. Like, what are you naturally good at? And they'll say nothing. I'm like, that's so not true. You know what I mean? And the woman may say, well, I love to bake. And I'm like, well, amazing. What can we do with that? So I think as a mompreneur, knowing what is your God-given talent is very important to explore.
Yes, and I noticed you had your own path with that, because you were a childhood star, were you sort of movie star as a child, and then I believe you went to Oxford to study, was it Oxford? Yeah, to study.
I did a program there to study Shakespeare,
Yeah, there we go, to study Shakespeare. And then you discovered that really you were a herbalist at heart. So you've been your own, you've had your own journey to find your way.
Right, so I wasn't a star.
Okay.
As I told you, I was an employed young child because way back when, there was a very small number of people in Los Angeles. We weren't so world connected, and we were working actors. So I became a working actor at the age of 5.
Awesome.
I did not become a star, but I learned very young to show up on set, memorize your lines, and be a professional, you know, and it was very easy for me. And then when I started exploring who I was, I really liked the world of botanicals, which is plant medicine. I was raised in California, which is not, you know, out in a prairie or out in the woods, but plants always resonated with me. And I started studying that. And the reason I went back to doing TV shows is because I had all this childhood training as a child on TV. So it's not intimidating, like, at all. It's much more intimidating to get my kids to school on time than showing up at a big TV show. And then I thought that I could integrate what I did as a child in acting with my botanical knowledge. So I teach people how to safely, and I want the word safely, integrate alternative medicine with conventional medicine, because conventional medicine is remarkable. I mean, the MRI machine is spectacular. Getting an X-ray is wonderful. Getting a sonogram is just so important. But the question is, does Western medicine, do they understand preventative medicine, and do they help you feel better on a daily basis? And that's where I felt that Western medicine fails.
Absolutely.
Acute medicine, you need stitches, you need a broken leg, secured in a cast, 100%. But if you're struggling emotionally, this is how I look at it, Lauren. We have these women over here that are totally happy and smiling all the time. We really have to worry about them. But okay, we've got those friends. Then we have friends that are truly falling apart and really need psychotropic meds. But then there's the rest of us somewhere in between. Now, I don't know the statistics all over the world, but in America, 1 out of 5 American women are on psychotropic drugs. That's mood controlling drugs.
Yeah.
It's usually
Scary.
prescribed by their GP, their general practitioner,
Yeah.
with a 6-minute consult. And I joke because things that used to be normal, like, you know, I occasionally want to stab my husband, and sometimes I start crying uncontrollably in the bathroom, and some days I don't want to get out of bed, like normal, you know?
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, oh my gosh, you need psychotropic meds. So women have a terrible gauge of what's normal, right?
Yeah.
So they take them because they think something's wrong with them if they're crying or feeling depressed or feeling sad. And what I try to do in my office and in the book Moodtopia is teach people, like, are you normal or not normal? And most of these women are so normal,
Yeah.
sleep deprived, overwhelmed, hard-raising kids, frustrated. The schools aren't going the way that they want to go. They're struggling, you know, financially in so many normal areas, Lauren, that you can take herbs to help if you're too easily frustrated, if you get into your little depressed state. So these herbs have been around for thousands of years, Lauren, thousands of years. And what's amazing is that when women are given these herbs to use, they will monitor them themselves. They're going to know when they need them. They can stop them when they don't need them. There's no side effects. There's no withdrawal. And studies show that when people are post-operative, they had gotten an operation, and they have a morphine pump that they can regulate the morphine, they will take less morphine than when a nurse gives it to them 3 times a day. So if we believe that people can learn to be intuitive and learn how to regulate themselves, they will do that, Lauren. And that empowers women to say, you know what, I'm having a really bad week. I need to take some herbs to help me sleep because my brain is going in circles and not slowing down. That doesn't mean you need a sleeping pill. It means you need an herb like California poppy, or maybe a little valerian, or maybe some passion flower, or if you're in pain, maybe a little bit of wild lettuce. These are herbs that you don't feel drugged, but they calm the system down and let you chill out. Or let's say you're at work and you're getting a promotion and you're a nervous wreck because you're not a public speaker. Like, what do you do, Lauren? So you can take an herb called skullcap. Skullcap is in the mint family. It's calming and soothing. And because I had 5 boys and they would come home at 4:15, every day at 4 o'clock for years, I would take skullcap. So when they came home and destroyed my house, I could keep it together, right? So you can take skullcap every day of your life for the rest of your life to chill you out and not have that agitation in your stomach. Or you can take it, let's say you're traveling on business and you get nervous going to the airport, security, remembering to bring your things, sitting next to maybe someone that's a little stinky, right? So skullcap can calm you down, and these are a gift to all women. It's out there for us.
Stunning. I absolutely, you are speaking to the converted. I believe in using these kind of tools. I'm always telling my friends, please, I can't believe how young people today are taking antidepressants and, you know, all kinds of mood altering drugs. And also the drugs then have problems. And then they start to have all kinds of other symptoms that start to, you know, it just, it really scares me. So I use EFT. I don't know if you've ever done any emotional freedom technique. Bless you.
Excuse me, thank you. Yes, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, so I use tapping, and then tapping really helps. It's one of the tools in my little toolbox. So I'm completely with you. I am totally into alternative medicine. I've been into it for years. I was an aromatherapist, reflexologist, shiatsu practitioner, Reiki, quantum touch. That's what I did for years, and so I love what you're doing because I think that, yeah, people need to get this message that unfortunately pharmaceuticals do have their place. I hear what you're saying, but they are overprescribed, hugely overprescribed, and people will take some kind of prescription drug just to take something away, and then it causes another 10 other problems, and that's another thing. So
I'm laughing at you, Lauren, because you had said before, like, I haven't achieved that much in my life, and you're like, I'm an aromatherapist, massage therapist, I'm like, oh my gosh, talk about a high achiever. Look at all you've done. So you exactly took your intuitive tools, the tools that you knew you could give back to the world, and all those things are majorly important. Thank you, Lauren. But medicines are overprescribed, and I want to say repeatedly that there are people that need them.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of alternative practitioners really feel like it's alternative medicine or nothing, and that's not the correct attitude. The correct attitude is you need to see what's out there. So if someone is going through a very, very horrible divorce, it could be that the medicine Ativan or Klonopin, which is anti-anxiety, may be something she needs before she goes to court, especially if her kids are on the line, right? Is it joint custody, or is someone trying to, take away your kids? That's a reason, 100%, to take a pharmaceutical. You want something that works quickly, has that action, and can help you focus. But then that doesn't mean that when you're not in that acute situation that you can't have something else to take. So I really feel, and I'm an herbalist, I treat chronic ear infections, chronic sinus infections, Epstein-Barr, mono. It doesn't mean sometimes you don't need an antibiotic. They are overprescribed. And the most important thing is that we want them to work when we need them to work. So if we overgive antibiotics to our children, then in a true emergency like a MRSA infection or another infection that they could have fallen, gotten a cut, got some cellulitis, whatever it may be, you want those antibiotics to work. So I teach my clients, like, the meds out there are strong and powerful. Let them be there for when you need them. And not on a daily basis. And that's what that's my message to people. Don't fear them, just know when to use them and when not to.
And as a matter of interest, is there a herb that someone could take if they were in that situation that you mentioned before? I would imagine there is a herb that would work also for that kind of stress situation.
There is an herb called blue vervain that does work. Blue vervain is a beautiful flower. You can look up all these plants I mentioned because they all have gorgeous flowers. Blue vervain has a blue purple flower, gorgeous.
Well, luckily I bought your book.
I talk about it. So that is an herb that works beautifully for that panic and anxiety. The only difference would be that if you were taking blue vervain, I would want it to be in the system a little before the incident, meaning I would love for you to take it in the morning, maybe around lunchtime, and then if you have to be at court at 2 o'clock, that would be your third dose of it. So the downside to herbs, and I'm very honest with you, is that you need to take it more often. Why? Because the brain reads herbs as food, takes what it needs, and dispels what it doesn't. So I give an example, like let's say you and I went blueberry picking, and we had like this big pint full of blueberries, and you and I sat down and ate that. We had a blast. Maybe we'd have a little bit of a tummy ache, but if you looked at the amount of antioxidants, we theoretically should be poisoned, because if we had taken that same amount of antioxidants in pill form, we need our stomach stumped. But if we ate those blueberries, our body would break down and get rid of what it didn't need. We would not get toxic poisoning from eating blueberries, no way. So that's the good thing, because food will break down and leave our body, whereas pharmaceuticals can be in there 24, 48 hours before it's converted through the liver and passed through the body.
That is such a good explanation. No one's ever explained that to me.
Right? Isn't that logical? So you need to take herbs 3 times a day, just like we're supposed to eat 3 times a day. Whereas people like that easy, I take one pill in the morning and forget about it.
Okay.
But you know, we want something like, I thank God rarely, if ever, I mean, I really have to rack my brain. I really thank God I don't see my clients having side effects from herbs really ever. But if you were to have one, maybe I couldn't even imagine, but it would leave your body in 24 hours. It would leave your body within 3 to 4 hours. So it would not harm you in any way. So that's another reason that I like plants, that you can play around with them and experiment and, you know, and try out. Like in the back of Moodtopia, I go herb by herb, explaining what their action is, what they do, and what they're used for. So people call me up, like I'll give like 3 herbs, like skullcap is for nervous anxiety. Motherwort, excuse me, is for hormonal gloominess. And lemon balm is to calm down if you're nervous. So women are like, can I take all 3 together? And I say that mixing herbs is like a jazz band. I mean, are you going to ask me, like, could you have an extra saxophone, you know, drums and piano? The answer is like, get another instrument in there, right? Because our senses like this full picture or this full audio when we're listening to music. Same thing with herbs, because no one is just nervous. They're nervous and fearful, nervous and feel overwhelmed. So you can mix a bunch of herbs together. There are a lot of herbalists that make combinations for you. Or you can learn to make them on your own. I mean, you can do that.
That is amazing. So I'm sort of perimenopausal right now. And I'm thinking I need some estrogen. Probably, you know, the hormones seem to not be working as they should. What do you recommend?
So the herb sage, S-A-G-E, is a phenomenal herb. It can help with that agitation, that nervousness. It can help balance the system. And since you brought that up, I want to tell you about the herb motherwort, because I feel like there should be an IV on every corner of the world for motherwort. It's for hormonal grumpiness. So it can be before your cycle, during your cycle, after your cycle. Or a young girl that hasn't gotten her cycle yet. She can be 10, 11, and 12 and seem very hormonally grumpy. And postmenopausal, we still can get hormonally grumpy. So motherwort is probably my favorite herb on the planet. So you could mix motherwort and motherwort and sage, or you could try them each separately and see how you respond to them.
Oh, wonderful.
So those are 2 amazing herbs. And when I say amazing, it's because I brought over here just like a big bottle of herbs. Okay, there's an herb.
Okay.
But you can get them in little teeny bottles like this size that you can just carry in your backpack or your purse, and you can take it, and it's great. Little tinctures.
Wow, awesome.
I like herbs better in tincture form. Maybe we should tell your listeners. Herbs come in either capsules with powder, tea bags, or the loose, or in tincture. The reason I like tincture is because when you pull a plant out of the ground, it dies very quickly. Think about your parsley. You buy it at the store, it's beautiful green. You leave it in the fridge because you're not sure how you're going to use it. It turns a little yellow. Next thing you know is it's white, and then we throw it away. I mean, that's what happens. So when you make a tincture, I can actually grab it if you give me a second.
Okay, perfect.
You take the plant, you put it in a bottle. Hold on, I have it right here.
Okay.
Let me get that out. I didn't know how much time we're going to have, but I have all my little trick over here. I want to show everybody because I think it makes a lot more sense when you see it. Let me grab it in the bottom. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So you take an herb like this. This is elderberry, which everybody's familiar with. These are berries. And I have it in a glass jar. And you pour a grain alcohol over the plant. And when you do that, you let the plant sit for 6 or 8 hours, and the alcohol breaks down the components in the plant, and then you strain it and you have a tincture. So, excuse me, so you're getting all the properties of the live plant because it breaks down into the alcohol. Or you can get it in a glycerite if you're sensitive to alcohol. And when you use herbs that way, they're quite powerful and potent in a good way, not in a bad way, in the way we want them. When you have an herb that's dried, what happens is it loses a lot of its essential oils, and our plants all have essential oils, and a lot of the properties dissipate. So I want that full plant. Now, again, when we're using herbal medicine, we use the root, we use the stalk, we use the leaves, we use the stems, we use the seeds, we use the flowers. And actually in one plant alone, like dandelion, which everybody hates in their garden except for herbalists like me, we use the root for kidney stones or gallbladder stones or kidney infections or bladder infections. We use the leaves for swelling or water retention. And then we can use the flowers. We can actually put them in olive oil, let them sit for 6 to 8 weeks, and you can use it in massage therapy. It helps with sore muscles. And if you put it on a skin tag, takes a while, takes a couple months, but that skin tag will fall off. So you can see one plant has so many different uses, which is amazing. So
amazing. Yeah.
Right. So the question should be from most of your listeners is, well, why aren't there so many double-blind clinical studies on herbs? And the answer is that herbs is not a great moneymaker because, Lauren, I can teach you and your listeners how to grow 3 herbs on their windowsill and make minimally 10 different medications. So it's really a lose-lose situation financially for a business, not for ourselves, but for pharmaceutical and other businesses. So really, someone has to make a lot of money in doing these studies. And there's a lot more studies out there than we think. A lot more studies. Some are properly done and some are not. I want to tell you one study. There was a study done on echinacea. And it was all over America, CNN, NBC, CBS, all the news stations. And it said, study at Harvard University reveals that echinacea does not shorten the duration of a cold, does not help eliminate the symptoms, and it doesn't do anything. So I was shocked as an herbalist, and I had studied double-blind clinical studies in my past, and I looked it up, and here's the story, Lauren.
Okay.
The study was like this. It was done at Harvard University, but Harvard has labs that people can rent out for a fee because the researchers need to make money. That's it. And it was a pharmaceutical company, Lauren, that had hired out the lab.
Follow the money.
They had given echinacea in capsule form. And any herbalist knows that capsule form is not the first choice. I want to give my echinacea in liquid form. And they did not adjust the dose for whether it was a male or a female or according to their weight. And they told every participant that they could take any antihistamine medicine like Dimetapp or Claritin at the same time. So basically it was a bogus study. It was a 100% bogus study because, I mean, if I don't adjust it to your weight, Lauren, you know, like you're going to take less herb than someone that's 300 pounds. And if you're a stay-at-home mom versus, you know, someone that's doing construction and using their metabolism more. So it was a study that was ridiculous. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but you can search, and there are a lot of studies going on actually in poorer countries that cannot afford pharmaceuticals. I have an amazing story of a woman who is an MD, doctor in Chicago. Her clientele is primarily lower income African American men and women. And that population suffers a lot with diabetes and high blood pressure. And she was really suffering trying to get her patients to not only take the medicine, but pick up the prescription and be willing to pay for the copay. And she found she was having a lot of problems with her patients regulating their blood pressure, which is so important to do. So she had studied some herbal medicine before she became an MD, traditions of her mother and grandmother. And she brought into her clinic hibiscus tea. Hibiscus tea. You can drink it iced. You can drink it hot. It's very inexpensive. You can make it once a week and keep it in your fridge. And she found that those that partook in the hibiscus tea on a daily basis lowered and regulated their blood pressure much better than the pharmaceuticals because they weren't taking them.
Wow.
And it was amazing. She is an MD. And another interesting story is in Puerto Rico after the hurricanes when, I mean, I don't even know, is there electricity still there? I mean, I'm just not up on what's going on, but it was like a good 12 months where there was no electricity. There was nothing going on.
Sure.
Why am I bringing this up? Because you have to understand people that were in the mountains, in smaller towns, they did not have access to pharmaceutical companies. The banks were shut down. What about these people that were on diabetic medicine? They were on blood pressure medicine. They were on all this medication. So there was an herbalist that flew in from the States, and she got herbs donated from Herbalists Without Borders. And she went into the back countries where people were addicted to meds. I mean, they were not going to live. I mean, there was no access to pharmaceuticals. And she found that not only did the herbal medicine work, I mean, there was no choice. You know what I mean? She went in there, totally volunteer, but she knew what was going on as an herbalist. And after a couple weeks, the patient said, I've never felt better. And here they were, they lost their homes, crisis, lost loved ones. And they were saying that the herbal medicine was helping to maintain their challenges. And they were goosebumps. Yeah. So when you learn about this, it's just powerful, Lauren. It's just powerful. So in my Moodtopia, my whole goal is to empower people to have the knowledge, the strength, the understanding of how to help heal themselves and their families, stay stronger and calmer at work, and know when they need a doctor. Like, we're not anti-doctor here, but like so many of my clients with kids spend so much time in the doctor's office for chronic ear infections. They're not getting better. That they need these tools. My next book is Moodtopia for Kids. I'm working on it now.
I was going to ask that. Okay.
But really, when you work with an herbalist also, like, we're not such good businesswomen because we want to empower people to do it themselves. And I'm joking because I am a great businesswoman, and that's your message today. I don't overcharge people. I definitely have a sliding scale. I do find that people that pay for their care get better faster. When I first became a lactation consultant, I had 5 clients. 3 were for free and 2 I paid. Within 2 weeks, these 2 were breastfeeding and these were not. Because it wasn't just Sara-Chana's view. It was like, oh, I'm going to listen to my cousin and my mother-in-law and my friend. Whereas when they paid for my care, they knew it. So I do charge. But ultimately, once my clients learn how to use herbs for themselves and their families, they come in and check in once or twice a year just to update, is there any new information. So that's the message. The message is that plants are here to heal us. They've been around forever. They're not going away so quickly. I must conclude, but I want to tell you an amazing story because someone just arrived here. So there was an herbalist that had just bought a piece of property on the edge of a forest, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I came from the city and I'm in nature. And within 2 weeks, there was a massive forest fire that destroyed most of the woods that were in her view, her view in her backyard. And she was devastated. She was mourning. I mean, it was like a loss of a friend. And she said, what happened was the plant wild lettuce. One moment, please. The plant wild lettuce started growing through the ground. And wild lettuce helps heal pain, helps
Wow.
soothe pain. And she said that the earth was rebooting itself. And all of a sudden she became very, very excited that this happened because she knew it was a rejuvenation. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right with you. It was a rejuvenation. Does that make sense? So plants are going to do that. And one more fascinating story. I can't say what we're doing, but there was an area that there was a drought. And so there was not enough water for the wild animals. There was a drought. And a botanist went out there and started looking at the plants. And the plants had naturally increased their estrogen levels so that the animals were not getting pregnant. Because the planet knew that we had to take care of the existing animals. Incredible.
Sure.
So plant medicine is people's medicine. Botanical flowers, trees, roots, they're all here for us. It's our gift from the planet.
Thank you for sharing so passionately. I have to read the rest of your book.
Okay, and be in touch with me. Now we're friends. I would love to hear from you.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Lauren. Gotta go back to work. All the best.
All the best to you
Pleasure meeting
too.
you. All the best.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.